'Twas a long time ago, longer now than it seems, in a place that perhaps you've seen in your dreams. For the story that you are about to be told began in the holiday worlds of old. Now you've probably wondered where holidays come from. If you haven't, then I'd say it's time you've begun. For the holidays are the result of much fuss and hard work for the worlds that create them for us. For you see now, quite simply, that's all that they do, making one unique holiday especially for you. But once a calamity ever so great occurred when two holidays met by mistake. Lack of genius movie club, da da da. Boys and girls of every age, wouldn't you like to hear something strange? Come with us and you will see. For super nerds who love movies, this is Like a Genius Movie Club. I'm Ben Magnet with Alyssa Roga. John and Kevin are here as well, and that's all I've got. I don't want to.
Did you just make a real-time jingle for us? Is that what just happened?
Amazing.
Yeah. So that was, I'm actually very proud of that, actually.
Ben's like, I got a little idea for an opening. He's got a whole freaking song ready to go.
So,
It's also, Ben, it's a good thing that you did just wake up, because that sultry voice, that deep tone was all the more sultry as a result of that.
I know. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a good day.
So, fun fact, that opening, we've all seen the movie. We watched the movie recently. The movie we're doing is Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes.
And on the soundtrack, the opening poem is that whole thing I just did.
That's what I wanted.
And even as I'm watching the movie I was watching the movie last night, and I thought to myself, I was like, hey, there's actually one song that has another verse to it in the soundtrack than it does in the actual film. I mean, we'll get to it, but the whole time I'm watching this, and also fun fact, if you have like the official Nightmare Before Christmas soundtrack, the opening is done by Sir Patrick Stewart.
Oh, well now you're hitting all of our...
Wait. So only in the soundtrack, but not in the film.
Only in the soundtrack, not in the film. And on the CD Nightmare Revisited, it's done by Danny Elfman himself.
Nice.
Well, I have some interesting things to say about Mr. Danny Elfman himself, too, speaking of, but we can wait to dig into that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm happy to whenever. I think this is really exciting. We are doing the Nightmare Before Christmas, like Ben said, and Alyssa, I was thinking we could have you kind of lead us into what at least the initial question that why we chose this movie, and then if the Danny Elfman thing makes sense now, we can get into it later. But I think let's hand it to you and see what we got.
Well, we all had the idea this month. Well, it's December, it's the holidays. Why don't we do a Christmas movie? And these lovely gentlemen said, Alyssa, pick a Christmas movie. And I said, the only Christmas movie I know is The Nightmare Before Christmas, so why don't we fight about it? Is it a Halloween movie? Is it a Christmas movie? Is it, as my roommate says, a Thanksgiving movie?
Oh my gosh.
Or as I say, it's Halloween every day, fight me.
There you go. Yeah, that is the debate, is what movie is it? Are you wearing a shirt, Ben? Is that what it was? Was that your shirt that was? Yeah.
I love it.
So,
It's my pajama shirt.
I love it.
Excellent.
Well, I have to say, I love what's happening if people are watching visually. We've got Ben in the Nightmare Before Christmas shirt. I'm in my very clearly Halloween Christmas sweater. And then we have our two very clearly Christmas dressed humans.
Team Christmas. Yeah. Yeah. John, what is yours?
Bob.
Yep. Jay and Silent, have yourself a Snoochie Boochie's Christmas. I always struggle to say that.
So good.
Yeah, I'm Team Christmas just in a general sense of the world, because I'm wearing a different Christmas t-shirt every day. I got my button-up festive one today. I am all about the Christmas spirit. I definitely see Nightmare Before Christmas as more of a Christmas movie. But as someone who is totally obsessed with Christmas movies, it's not my favorite Christmas movie because of how Halloween-y it is at the beginning. Like, if I want to watch a Christmas movie, that is not the one I go to, because if I want to watch a Christmas movie, I want to be like, oh, the spirit is all around us, and it starts out with a Halloween song, which is great when I watch it on October 28th, you know, but not so much on December 10th is kind of where I'm coming from. Those are just sort of my initial thoughts about the movie.
You do have to tell us what your favorite Christmas movie is now, you realize.
My favorite Christmas, I have two. I have two that I put in this category. And this is going to sound like I'm totally contradicting myself, but Gremlins is one of my favorites because it's a scary movie, but throughout that, it literally starts with a scene of Christmas, of a town on Christmas Day, and so Christmas runs throughout it, so it kind of jumps right in. And then A Muppet Christmas Carol is just my no shame all-time
and
favorite
Alyssa,
Christmas
if you
movie.
listened to our latest episode of the podcast, you would have known that.
Listen, my backlog of podcasts is long.
Maybe a quick rundown of each person's initial thoughts on is it a Christmas movie? Is it a Halloween movie? Anyone in the Thanksgiving camp, like Alyssa's roommate, which I guess I get but have never heard before?
I think also I'd love to go around and say that, and also maybe put in our 2 cents of our experiences with the movie. Like, did we grow up with it?
Good idea.
How do we feel? How does it affect our souls? Because obviously this movie came out, if I recall correctly, in 1993. Mm-hmm. So for a lot of us, we were tiny little baby children who did not watch movies or comprehend things.
I mean, some of us were like 7 or 8.
Okay,
yeah.
well...
Full-on adult children by that point.
Full adult children.
I was 2 turning 3 years old when this movie came out.
Yeah, John and I were each 7 and 8, and I'll maybe John, you can start, and I'll just say that I don't know if you have this memory. I actually remember the trailer for this movie like that, and which is weird because I don't have a ton of memories from that age, but I remember specifically that scene where the parents show up and say, "And what did Santa bring you?" And the kid turns around and shows the shrunken head, and the parents scream. Like that was let's sum up the movie in one scene right there, and that was used in the trailer. I remember that specifically.
Yeah, I mean that does seem familiar, like being able to, like having seen the trailer, but I mean I definitely remember seeing it in theaters.
Oh.
That's one of the first movies I can kind of vaguely remember. I remember going with a friend, and his parents, I think. But yeah, so I mean I remember seeing that in theater. I'd say it's a Christmas movie, but like Kevin, it's definitely not one of my favorites. And I'll be honest, I got a little bored watching it last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a good movie. I mean the animation's great and everything, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, it almost seems like Tim Burton and Danny Elfman were trying to be Gilbert and Sullivan, and it just wasn't that fun. I guess
Tim
to
Burton
me.
actually didn't really have much to do with this movie, contrary to popular opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is Tim Burton. I know he's not the director and whatnot, but still.
Yeah, he created the story basically, right? Like he is the creator. He created everything, and he wrote the script, but it got rewritten. I know. I don't know the full story behind it, but.
What he officially did first, before this movie was ever made, he wrote a children's book.
Yeah.
He wrote a children's book. He wrote a poem, and the only thing he really did on this movie was produced it. Everything else was done was like Henry Selick is the director. Mm-hmm. Of course, Danny Elfman has been doing music with Tim and his team for God knows how long, since the dawn of time, I feel like. But yeah, all Tim Burton did was just he wrote the original story that was based on it, which is why it's called Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. And even when I was growing up as a kid, I always thought, hey, this is a Tim Burton movie. Sure. And then when I was finally able to comprehend who the directors were, instead of seeing Tim Burton's name at the director thing, I'm like, who the hell is Henry Selick?
Yeah, but Tim Burton does get all the credit for it. I mean, even as this knowledge is becoming public, it's still that's a Tim Burton because it fits the Tim Burton look and feel so much.
Yeah.
But what about you, Ben? What's your sort of overall history with the movie? Where does it land for you?
I had this film on VHS in 1995, and by God, did my family love it.
Awesome.
Or actually, by my family, I mean my little brother and I. This was my little brother's favorite film when we were kids. And we would watch it, and as And to answer the question of whether we thought this was a Christmas movie or Halloween movie, we said "Por qué no las dos" when "Por qué no las dos" was a thing. We watched it both. We would watch it at Halloween, we would watch it during Thanksgiving, and we would watch it during Christmas because we thought this was the perfect holiday movie to watch 3 months out of the year. Because when we were kids, we were very beholden to the rules of you can only watch Christmas movies at Christmas. You can only watch horror movies during Halloween. Yeah. Whereas with Nightmare Before Christmas, we got to watch it. We got to watch it in October, and we got to watch it again and throughout the entire until Christmas, essentially.
And Free Willy was your year-round movie, right? That was
Free
Willy in space.
You still remember that from last time? Free Willy was our year-long movie when I was a kid. But my brother and I, we watched Nightmare Before Christmas so much that our VCR eventually ate the tape. And then one year
loved it too, apparently.
Yeah, apparently so. And that we would go out without it for years until finally I bought it for my brother for Christmas on DVD, and he liked it, but he kind of grew out of it. I was still very entrenched in it, and also around this time I actually had a pass to Disneyland, so I would go to Disneyland during the holidays, especially during Halloween time, and they would change Haunted Mansion to Haunted Mansion Holidays, so it's all Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah. And then I just dove head first into Christmas time. I just dove head first into Nightmare Before Christmas. And this is definitely one of my I could definitely see where John is coming from, but I have been so entrenched. Like, I practically have this film memorized. A few years ago, me and the other fake nerds, we did a panel at LA Comic-Con where one of the gentlemen we like to collaborate with a lot, Mike Matola, he made this beautiful art print where he wrote the entire script out, and I won a print because I had to answer trivia questions. The video was up on the Fake Nerd YouTube, guys. Shameless plug. If you guys want to check it out, I'll send the three of you the link later. Cool. And I was out for blood, and I smoked everyone.
Wow.
That does not surprise me in the slightest, knowing you.
I was this close, actually, to not watch the movie because I have this film practically memorized. I'm sitting on my couch watching this film last night on Disney Plus, and I'm singing along. I'm like having the time of my life because back in high school, I would sing Nightmare. I am just proud to say that with my little choir experience, I could sing Jack's Lament, Something's Wrong with Jack, and Oogie Boogie Song practically pitch perfect.
Heck yeah.
I freaking love those songs. Well, and of course, This Is Halloween is like an absolute banger of a song.
Iconic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, Alyssa, I imagine with you being the professional singer that you are, that the music probably like you said, you were a little baby when this came out, and then when did it become when did it hit your radar?
So I feel like I have a very non-traditional experience with this movie, considering that I am a nerd, which is that I hadn't seen it until I was an adult. Like a proper, wow. I think maybe in grad school adult. Wow. And I was aware vaguely of its existence when I was younger because I had friends who were super into it, and I've been sort of realizing lately that the fact that I stumbled into being a massive nerd is pure dumb luck, because I did not grow up with a family that was into pop culture, and they weren't against it. It's just that I didn't grow up with it. I had to sort of trip and fall my way face first into anime conventions, you know? And so my first real introduction to The Nightmare Before Christmas, Ben, you'll love this, was through Kingdom Hearts. I had not seen the film before I played Halloween Town in Kingdom Hearts.
That's that's a video game. I'm assuming. Yeah. I don't even know this. Okay.
And so I think it was really at that point when I was really deep into Kingdom Hearts, I was like, okay, it feels weird to me that I haven't seen this movie. That feels like cheating. So I need to watch the freaking movie.
Good for you. You wanted to be honorable. You did the honorable thing.
I wanted my source material. But so it's actually kind of funny because I have such a deep connection to the material through Kingdom Hearts and through a different vein. It's I love the movie. I love the movie a lot. And watching it again, I'm like, no, this holds up. Like, the animation is kind of mind-blowing. The music is fantastic. Yeah. It's a great time. Like I said, every day is Halloween. And also, cheers, why not Christmas? So I'm like, this is an everyday movie. I don't care if it's March. We're watching it. That's check on that. So it's really interesting to me to be like so familiar with the material in Kingdom Hearts, more so than the actual movie. So when I hear the music in the movie, I'm like, oh my god, wait, this is so interesting, because the music is the same, but it's not. And the instrumentation between what they do in the game and in the movie, like just the subtle changes they make is something that like sticks out to me because I'm a musician. But I'm like, oh, this is so interesting because I know the Kingdom Hearts score more. I'm like, wait, why is this like a saxophone and not an oboe? Like, I'm confused.
Wow.
So it just sort of adds layers of like, I'm sort of very honed in on those kinds of things, especially when I'm watching like musical movies. That's what I do.
Yeah.
But I also will say, like, it was so much fun watching it with my housemate, who is a filmmaker and an artist. He does literally everything. He's amazing. And so like, he knows all this like really detailed stuff about how the animation was done. And it's so fascinating because literally everything is tangible. It's real. Like, there's nothing digital. It's all like physical compositing. If there's compositing, it's all like real stop motion. There's some like, there's a scene where there's a fire in the background, and it's a video of a real fire, but that was played frame by frame in the background as they were doing the stop motion.
Even that.
It's like mind-blowing. I'm just like, the people who thought of this, literal geniuses. So like for me, it's like a really fun experience because I enjoy the movie, I enjoy the music, but then like all this technical stuff, I'm just like amazed by. And knowing that this was almost 30 years ago, and I'm like, this is still like, these are the people who pioneered these techniques for stop motion animation. Like, this is incredible.
Yeah, they set the bar for sure. I was watching with the same like mind-blowing eye this time around, where it's like almost like a reality check of, wait a minute, this is not live action, this is not animation, this is stop go. And I was paying attention to like the shadows that the characters were making, and I don't know if it was literally they were the shadows frame by frame being produced as well. It really blew my mind. There's a scene where Oogie Boogie throws his it's like his introduction, I think, and he throws his dice, and they zoom in, and it's snake eyes, and the snakes come out and roll. And I was just thinking, that one scene alone, it wasn't quote unquote necessary for anything, and it probably took 4 months just to make that one scene, but it looks so good, and that's the extra care that they put into the movie. And I just kind of, it puts me in awe. It really does.
Yeah.
I kind of already answered the question, but I will say that one thing that Ben brought up, being a Southern California person, is how big here Disneyland's changing of the Haunted Mansion is. I mean, that is a thing that people look forward to all year. It starts in October, so it very much rides the Halloween and then into Christmas, and so it's really become part of culture. And it's funny because growing up, like when I was a teenager, I remember almost having like a hipster take on it, where it was like, well, yeah, I liked this movie when I was a kid, but now all the Hot Topic kids are going around wearing their Nightmare Before Christmas stuff, and like it felt like overkill. And so I kind of had a negative sort of like, yeah. And then I grew up. I got older. I became an adult, and I was like, wait a minute. This movie is amazing, and good for them for getting for reaching a vast audience. So, I did anybody else, by the way, watch the sing-along version last night? Or when they watched? Did you guys watch on Disney Plus by chance?
Yeah, I watched it on Disney Plus.
I watched sing-along for the first time, and it was so much fun. I didn't sing along to every song, but I did sing along to my favorite song, which I know we sort of talked about being prepared with. And I'm wondering if I'm the only one who has this song. I thought maybe everybody was going to choose this song because I love this song so much, but I'm realizing that's probably not the case. I love What's This? What's
Oh,
this?
yeah.
The only reason that I'm like maybe nobody else chose it is because, well, I know at least Alyssa, you're very much team Halloween. I am all about that song because to me that song just epitomizes the excitement of Christmas. Like that makes me feel like Christmas morning. Everything is new. He goes through. They describe everything about Christmas that's so exciting. I like that when the train goes by and it's blowing out on beat, like
Choo, choo, choo.
the elves working is on beat. When that scene starts, that's where it's like, okay, Christmas is here, and that's when it becomes a real Christmas movie to me. So I'm all about that life.
No,
No, I was just saying it's funny. It's funny that you say you didn't expect anyone else to say what's this, but as I was watching, I was like, oh, I need to pick a favorite song, and I'm horrible at picking favorites. Like I'm the kind of person like people ask me what my favorite like XYZ is, and I'm like, I don't know. I like everything. Like
Same.
I don't pick favorites. I don't do that. And I'm like, but both This Is Halloween and What's This, I think are like the two most brilliant songs in the film, because then, you know, at the sort of like climactic piece of it all, they come together. So they're written in a way that they are intended to work within each other and like weaving in and out of each other in that scene when they're like putting together Christmas. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is so brilliant, because you have these two equally fantastic compositions that stand alone, and then they weave together, and it's like, oh my god, they were meant to go together the whole time. Like, Danny Elfman, you are a genius.
I never even considered that, and that's such a great observation. That this was everything's pre-designed. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, even earlier, the list of songs I was like naming off the top of my head, like 5 seconds after I was done, I was like, and I forgot about What's This? How dare I? How
dare you?
How
Show yourself
dare
the
I?
door, Ben Magnet.
How dare I forget? Like, because even that song, my girlfriend, she was doing laundry when I came home from work, and as she's coming in to take her clothes down out of the dryer, we get to What's This, and the first thing she says is like, "What's this? What's this?" And she like starts singing. I'm like, "Come on, sit down." She's like, "I gotta do laundry." I'm like, "But what's this?" It's one of our favorite songs of the entire film that's playing.
I also love that Jack, when he sees the door to Christmas Town, he says, "What's this?" You know, he literally says the title of the song before the song starts. So, I was all about that. What about you, John? Are you team What's This? Did you pick a favorite song? What do you sing along to in the shower?
I mean, probably not any of them, but only because I don't know the songs that well anymore. But probably a Oogie Boogie song when he's singing the Santa Claus.
You're an Oogie Boogie man.
And that's mainly because that's more of a jazz, New Orleans jazz, which I'm more of a jazz person than the rest of the music in the film. So
that's great.
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a banger too.
Yeah.
So speaking of the music, this is sort of the segue that I was gonna say before. So I don't know how many people know this, because I didn't know this until last night or 2 days, whenever I watched the movie. So as some of you may know, Chris Sarandon is Jack Skellington's speaking voice.
Yeah.
He is not his singing voice.
right.
It's Danny Elfman.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
And I didn't realize. It's like it's clear that it's a different person. I didn't realize it was actually Danny Elfman, which I think is so cool.
Yeah.
But it's so funny, because apparently there are stories, and I wish these demos existed because I'm nosy. But there are stories that Chris was supposed to do the singing, and he did record it, and it was so bad. They were like, "We literally can't do this, Danny. Please, Danny, please fix it."
Well, the story that I had heard, that I think that Danny Elfman also originally voiced Jack Skellington all the way. Like, the original voice was going to be him as Jack Skellington. He really wanted to be Jack Skellington in every scene, and his voice acting skills were not up to snuff. There just wasn't enough emotion, so they had to redub all of them with what was the name? Chris
Sarandon. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so that's fascinating that we've heard two different stories. I wonder where in the middle.
I know where it actually meets.
That's fascinating to me too, though, because his voice in the music is so spectacularly expressive. Like his command over the way that he characterizes Jack in those songs.
Yep.
It's top tier.
Yeah, I think they knew that they had it in the music. I just think the acting, the voice acting. I remember learning that from Netflix's The Movies That Made Us. There's a really good episode on that. If you guys want to check it out, it's they do one on Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's so fascinating to learn all these little nuggets. But man, Danny Elfman is just an amazing. I've realized as a full grown man now that he is probably one of my favorite music composers and musicians of all time. Everything that he touches, all the movies he's involved with, from Pee Wee Herman to Edward Scissorhand to Beetlejuice, like all of it is so on brand for him, and he just nails it every time. So it's just a joy to watch the movie and hear his music and like you said, hear his command of Jack as he sings for him.
Oh yeah. And as well, like all of the stuff in between that a lot of people don't pay attention to, like the scoring that's not the songs.
Yes.
Is so good. And I love how in this movie in particular, a lot of it is what's really happening. So you'll walk past that little like jazz trio with the accordion and the saxophone, and they're literally playing the music. Like the instrumentation is the instruments that they're holding, and it all weaves together. I just think it's so brilliant when they pull stuff off like that in movies.
Nice work, Bone Daddy.
Yeah, it has. That's again why it's just so, from a technical standpoint, so amazing, that they considered every detail, knowing that they were just clay figures, right? And they had to fill in all the blanks. Ben, I know you mentioned What's This? Is that your favorite song? Is that
it sucks. Okay, the song doesn't suck. I need to preface this correctly. It sucks because it's like Alyssa or even like John, it's very hard for me to pick a favorite song because I am so drenched with this music, and I apologize if you hear stuff. My roommate's downstairs with a friend of his.
Talking about Nightmare Before Christmas, I'm sure.
Yeah, totally.
So excited.
And it's just one of those things because when I was a kid, it's like, oh no, this is Halloween. And then it's like, actually, no, it's What's This? And then it's like, actually, no, Oogie Boogie Song, because Oogie Boogie Song was that song that when I first was in choir and I first actually started like watching Nightmare Before Christmas and really getting into the songs, I could actually sing note for note. Because when I was in choir, I was a bass and I could like get those low notes, and then I was like able to like nail the entire song. So I want to say Oogie Boogie Song is my favorite, with Halloween and What's This being tied for second.
I get it.
I mean, the entire soundtrack is an absolute banger.
It is.
When I was studying for that panel at LA Comic Con, when I was at work before work started saying, hey, you can't listen to music, you can't wear headphones anymore, I was listening to the soundtrack on repeat. And I was essentially like seeing the movie as I was listening to the soundtrack, even with no parts of dialogue in it. But favorite song, it would definitely have to be Oogie Boogie Song. I love that song. Like John was saying, it's a great jazz number. It's very hot. The energy is just up there. And I just love all the stuff Oogie Boogie has to say to Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because it's like, ooh, Oogie, you can tell with his song, he has a mean streak, and it adds to the discord that me and a lot of other Disney fans have, that the villain songs are like the best songs in the movie.
I'm pretty sure that's undisputable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Under the Sea, but every time I hear Ursula start singing Poor Fortune of Souls, I perk up. Same with Scar and Be Prepared. I was like,
and
yes.
And let's not forget Hellfire.
Oh.
The most underrated best villain song ever.
Oh,
wait,
that is such a...
I don't know that by
Hunchback?
Title.
It's Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is again also an incredibly underrated film.
I was going to say I have no real memory of Hunchback of Notre Dame, so yeah.
Same for me. I think I've maybe seen it once.
Interesting. Maybe it missed us. Maybe
Well,
it missed our age
It's not.
bracket.
It's not just y'all. This is something that
Okay.
I've noticed like across generations, that for some reason Hunchback, like probably because it's actually much darker, sort of is lower on
I
the
mean, it
radar.
is Victor Hugo. I mean,
But
Yeah.
the music in that movie is phenomenal, like mind-blowingly good.
Oh
That's
yeah.
good to know. I remember when it came out, and I remember it being marketed. I remember McDonald's had toys of Hunchback of Notre, so they pushed it for sure. I just somehow missed it.
I remember. I've sort of like going on Hunchback for a very hot second. I remember watching some documentary where the directors were like, they had like Disney straight up said you need to push because there's a scene in the film was like the Festival of Fools. They really pushed that in the marketing, and the other stuff they kind of like laid low a little bit. They cut that, they pushed that and the gargoyles in the marketing because it's 90s Disney. They were like very heavily, this is a family film, this is a family thing, and then of course you go see the movie and it frightened children because like, what's this about hellfire? They don't know the themes of hellfire, but then those little babies grew up and we're watching. It's like, yo, Hunchback's really freaking good.
How about that? All right, well, I'm adding it to my list. I'm kind of excited, to be honest. By the way, Oogie Boogie, if you listen to the Lack of Genius podcast Christmas episode, Oogie Boogie is the 4th greatest Christmas villain of all time, according to my very comprehensive list of a whole bunch of lists of greatest villains. And so there you go. We also, I kind of use that as a transition because we talked about wanting to be prepared with a favorite character, which I'd be super curious to hear what you guys chose for that. Does anyone really want to start? Anyone feeling like, ooh, let me go?
I'll go first.
All right, Ben.
Bone Daddy himself, Jack Skellington.
Okay.
How can it not be Jack Skellington? Yeah, he's a showman. And as a theater kid myself, I can understand that. Like when he wants to do something different because he's been doing Halloween for who knows how long. He does Halloween very well. So he's like, I want to try that something different. And he sees Christmas, and I understand that because if you've been doing one thing for X amount of time, for like the same thing over and over and over again, he wants something new. He wants something different. He's bored. He's like, I am this grand showman, and everyone tells me I'm great. Everyone tells me I'm amazing. But at the same time, it's like he doesn't care about that. He just wants to do something different, and then he gets that, and then he finds his mojo again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Jack Christmas Town.
Yeah, Jack Skellington, absolute favorite for me.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's like, there's so many like really cool, interesting design characters throughout the whole movie, which makes it so colorful. But it's like everything about Jack is so, even outside of, and I know I keep coming back to this, but it's because it's like so particularly interesting to me right now. Like even outside of his actual character, the way his body moves and the techniques that they use for his fingers and the way that his face is so expressive, it's incredible. So on top of the the voice of him and the general character of him, watching this unfold, like knowing how it's made, is so incredible. And I also have to say, speaking of him, being showered with accolades of how amazing he is as the Skeleton King, we were cracking up because we're like, parasocial relationships at their finest. This is very relatable.
What is it?
Parasocial relationships. So when all the characters are like, Jack, oh, you're so amazing, Jack, and he's like, I don't know you, go away.
oh, how funny. Yeah, totally.
But then he goes and like goes home and locks himself out, or he like goes for a walk in the woods, and he's got, we are to assume this happens like immediately after they have just finished Halloween, and he's like, okay, I'm bummed, I'm going for a walk. So homie is gone for like 12 hours and the whole town is having a meltdown.
Yeah,
like, y'all, relax.
Totally. Yeah. I noticed that is so funny you say that. They were freaking out. The mayor is, talk about a codependent, man. He's just like, I can't live without Jack. I'm only an elected official, like. Yeah, that was
line
great.
is hysterical.
Yeah, that was great.
Jack, I'm only an elected official here. I can't make decisions by myself.
Yeah. What about you, John? Are you a Jack Skellington guy? Do you have did you choose a different character?
Part of me, Jack Skellington's great. Part of me has a hard time because of he's voiced by Chris Sarandon, who's also Prince Humperdinck. From The Princess Bride, so I occasionally see that when I see hear Jack Skellington.
That's funny.
I don't know. No one stands out to me. I guess I'm not saying I've soured on the movie, but I could take it or leave it. I guess. I mean, I enjoyed it as a kid, and it's like like I said earlier, everything's great about it. It's just I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea now, I guess.
Yeah, I can relate a little bit. I will say that I think my problem is that I've just watched it too many times, which there's some people probably who would say you can't watch it too many times, but I've watched it. I've watched it every year now, and for whatever reason this year I'm very much into watching holiday movies that I haven't seen. I'm definitely revisiting some of my old favorites, but Nightmare Before Christmas probably would not have been on my list had it not been for this activity, and I'm glad it is because it was nice to revisit it. But I was a little bit like, okay, I kind of know what happens here. I kind of know the formula. I was a little bit like, I think I had a little bit of sense of boredom too, John. So I can relate to you on that. When I was trying to answer the question of my favorite character, I realized there are a lot of characters who show up in this film, but there aren't that many that actually have pivotal roles. So there's really not that many to choose from in some regards. And I'm about to get all 2022 about Jack Skellington, but like I see him a little bit as like just so driven on his own sort of goal and need for like his own journey, and he sort of drags Halloween Town into all this. But like you, much to your point, Alyssa, they worship him. Like they're gonna do what he says. So was he manipulating them? I mean, they were sort of willing participants in the manipulation, if you will. They were going on board. But I was sort of like, man, he's so hell-bent on finding his own purpose that he's taken this whole town with him. And for that reason, it was kind of the first time I was like, I don't know if I really love Jack Skellington as a character. I wasn't rooting for him the same way that I was as like a young person. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I will say that I would say my favorite characters, though, that I'm choosing three because they go together, is Lock, Shock, and Barrel. These are the little kids that wear the mask. Paul Rubens voices one of them. I can't remember which one. And in a very close second for favorite song is Kidnap the Sandy Claus, because I think that's the name of the song, but they literally say Kidnap the Sandy Claus. And there are so many very clever lines in that song, but really twisted lines in that song. Some of them are super. My favorite one, without a doubt, is kidnap the Sandy Claus, put him in a bag, throw him in the ocean, and see if he is sad. Which is just like, if you really think about that line, that's so twisted. Like, not only are you throwing him in the ocean, the whole point of it is to let's see if it makes him sad. Like, let's just see. There's this complete lack of empathy from those three, which is very ironic that I would choose them as my favorite, because I consider myself an empathetic person, and usually I relate to characters who are very caring. These little kids are, quite frank, we don't cuss too often on here, but they're little shits, man. These little kids I just kind of want to kick them in the face, but for whatever reason, I just love their presence in this movie. I think the mischief that they cause and their pure just chaos about them, I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm very drawn to it. So
I'm so glad that you said that, because I was like, oh my gosh, we can't not talk about them and that song.
Totally.
There is something so delightful about like twisted, messed up little kids for some reason. I mean, literally in that song too, they also talk about like literally murdering him. They do.
Let's pop him in a boiling pot, and when he's done, we'll butter him up.
Yeah. There. I should pull up the lyrics maybe, but there's
so funny.
Yeah. By the way, also, this is so random, but there's a really good cover of that song by Korn.
Yeah.
Which you're not gonna Korn. Korn. You're not gonna hear me bring up Korn too much in 2022, but it's actually really good, even if you don't really like Korn, because it fits the kind of twistedness of the song. But anyways, yeah, it's I as someone who is a songwriter and trying to be a more prominent songwriter, I think that's why I like Danny Elfman so much in general, but this song sort of wraps up exactly what I love in his lyrics, the way he's able to tell a story and get a feeling across, and also but have it be very digestible for an audience. So yeah, I'm all about that Lock, Shock, and Barrel life, I'll say that.
So, Kevin, fun fact, it was because of Korn's version through Nightmare Revisited that I actually grew to like that song more, because when I was growing up, Kidnap the Santa Claus was my least favorite song.
How funny.
Not because I mean, okay, I was a kid and I wasn't really like paying attention to what they were saying. It was just that part when you would watch the movie and you would just like accept it because it's part of the film, and you're just like, okay, come on, hurry up, let's go. But as an adult, I'm listening to the Korn version because that album came out when I was in high school, when I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
And I listened to Korn's version. I listened to Marilyn Manson's "This Is Halloween," which is awesome.
That's good too.
And as I'm listening to these artists do renditions of "Nightmare Before Christmas" songs, I'm listening to "Kidnapped Santa Claus." I'm like, wait, they say what? What? And I rewatched the film. I'm like, oh my god, they do. And now it's like, hey, this is actually kind of fun now. I understand the lyrics. I understand the premise of the song.
Yeah, and I think as a kid, you're seeing them capture Sandy Claus. Like that's, as a kid, yeah, why would you like these? That's very, but when you become an adult and you've seen all the Christmas movies and you know that this is very different than any other Christmas movie. I also love that they walk in a freaking bathtub, a little walking bathtub. Like that is, I don't know where that came from, who thought of that, but it's just another sort of example of the brilliance behind every little detail of this movie that I'm a fan of.
I will also say there is something about a walking bathtub that is like so deeply horrifying.
It is.
Like weird nightmare fuel. I don't know why.
It's not
I mean, that just seems very Discworld Terry Pratchett to me.
I don't know.
Because
I don't know that.
I mean, it's got claw feet, so you might as well use the claw feet and let it walk.
Yeah. I think also there's nothing I mean, sure, being in a bathtub with hot water and bubbles is nice, but being in an empty bathtub is not very comfortable. It's cold and it's hard and there's nothing fun about it. So yeah, that definitely adds to the horror of it. I'll add one more thing because I can't add this as a favorite character because their appearance is hardly noticeable. But just to complement the technical side again, there's a character called Mr. Hyde, and he is the guy who has the hat, and inside the hat is a smaller version of him, and then there's another one. Mm-hmm. I love the use of that character when they do it, especially I can't remember the song. Maybe it's
Town Meeting Song.
Which one?
Oh, you're probably right. It is Making Christmas because that's when they do like they kill the scorpion, they put it in the jar.
Yes. They start close on him, and in the moment you're thinking you're seeing a full size, but yeah, it pans out each time to see and I just think about, again, another shot that probably took all kinds of coordination and time to get perfect, and it's those scenes that, you know, like John and I kind of mentioned, there's when you watch the full movie, sometimes for at least John and I, there are moments of, okay, I've gotten over this, but when I can really dig into those individual scenes and realize the amazingness of them all, that's where I'm like, okay, this is really one of the most innovative movies ever created. Really, it's just incredible. So what do we think in terms of the overall question as we wrap up here? Is it a Christmas movie? Is it a Halloween movie? Do we need to decide that? Do we have any last thoughts on that?
I mean, from a historical standpoint, Gothic, horror is part of Christmas. And if you look at previous Christmas stuff, you've got the big one. I can't even think of it. Scrooge.
Oh, Scrooge.
Yeah.
Oh, Christmas Carol.
Yeah, Christmas Carol. And it's telling stories by the fire and that was a thing, and so that alone, just because it starts at Halloween, it is a very Gothic thing, it doesn't make it less Christmas, and outside of the U.S. there is no holiday between Halloween and Christmas, so it's I could see the arguments either way, but in reality, it's definitely more of a Christmas movie.
All right, Team Christmas. Who else has a last thought?
I'll say personally, it's both.
Okay.
As a kid growing up, it's both, but I did hear something that I wanted to pull up. That this is from what website is this? I forgot. Like if you Google if it is Nightmare Before Christmas, a Christmas or Halloween movie, they in 2019 with USA Today, Danny Elfman said it's a Halloween movie, and the director Henry Selick during the Q&A at the 2015 Colorado Telluride Horror Show, he straight up said it's a Halloween movie.
Wow! How about
the director himself said it's a Halloween movie, which it kind of makes sense because it's characters with Halloween interacting with Christmas. Yeah. But as a kid growing up, it's both. It's a Halloween movie and it's a Christmas movie, because you can watch this, because like John was saying earlier, you got the spookiness and the creepiness of Halloween. This is Halloween is the first song you hear. It's the anthem of Halloween. And then 15, 20 minutes into the film, you're introduced into Christmas, and it's all about Jack creating a Halloween-fied version of Christmas.
Yeah.
And if you go to Disneyland in California and you're in the queue for Haunted Mansion right before you go on the Doom buggies, you hear the ghost host saying, "But when Halloween creates Christmas, you might see a few flaws." So it's this great amalgamation of ¿Por qué no las dos?
Yeah. Yeah.
I fully agree. My is both. Watch it whenever. Have joy.
Yeah.
I'm always gonna be team. Let people watch things and like things whenever they want and leave them alone.
Yeah.
Who took
Don't yuck other people's
joy
yum.
from you? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
As I tweeted this week, disrespectfully, if your response to someone saying they like something is "Ew, that thing is bad," who hurt you?
Yeah. You know what? This is so random. I get that way with pineapple on pizza. Like, I get that some people don't like pineapple on pizza, right? I love pineapple on pizza. But for somebody to say that's wrong and disgusting, I'm like, no, it's quite literally the opposite for me. It's very enjoyable.
Right.
It may be for you, but that doesn't mean you need to rain on my parade. So I loved that tweet, Alyssa. I loved when I read that. And B, in a perfect world, that's where I stand. I'm going to call it both. Like, if it brings you joy to watch it on Halloween, then great. If it brings you joy to watch it on Christmas, great. For me personally, I like watching it during Christmas better than I like watching it in Halloween time. For whatever reason, for me, I think I want to save the Christmas feeling until Christmas. So if I watch it during Halloween, I feel like I'm spoiling myself. Like, oh no, I gotta save this for Christmas. So that's when I'm gonna watch it. But as I think each panelist has said in some form or another, enjoy the movie whenever the heck you want to enjoy it. If you want to watch it after you watch Free Willy in June, then go for it. Whatever makes you happy. But I will say it's been a pleasure chatting with you four about Nightmare Before Christmas. This has been a lot of fun.
Heck yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we are the LoG Movie Club, and we'll be here once a month doing this again. Who knows what we'll be doing next week? But thanks for tuning in and joining us, and Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. I think I already used that one for the Lack of Genius. So somebody else say something.
Well, and Happy Christmas, Hana Kwanzaa.
Thank you. That's what we do.
Or in the spirit of Night Before Christmas, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good fright.
There it is.